Welcome to this CipherVibe Cloud Security Guide. Today we will make JWT Security, step-by-step guide for 2026 practical, prioritized, and connected to how real cloud environments are operated. JWTs are compact signed claims, not a security shortcut. This episode explains how to validate JWTs correctly, avoid common token mistakes, plan key rotation, design expiration and revocation, and keep authorization separate from authentication. The purpose is not to memorize a collection of service names. It is to build a mental model you can apply when accounts, teams, workloads, and threats change. We will define the core ideas, walk through a repeatable security workflow, examine mistakes that frequently create exposure, design useful safeguards, and finish with a practical hardening roadmap. Pause when you need to. Write concepts in your own words, record observations, and distinguish what the evidence proves from what you are merely assuming. That habit is more valuable than rushing through another tool demonstration. Start with 4 concepts that provide the vocabulary for JWT security, step-by-step guide for 2026. First, a JWT usually contains claims about a subject, issuer, audience, lifetime, token ID, scopes, and sometimes identity or authorization context. Second, a valid signature only proves that a trusted key signed the token. It does not prove the token is meant for the service or grants the requested action. Third, issuer, audience, expiration, not before, algorithm, key ID, token type, and signature must be checked by every verifier that trusts the token. Fourth, access tokens should be short-lived because bearer tokens can be replayed while valid. Fifth, refresh tokens, session stores, token introspection, deny lists, or short lifetimes are different ways to handle revocation trade-offs. Sixth, authorization should be evaluated by the resource service or policy layer, not blindly copied from client-controlled assumptions. Do not study these as isolated definitions. Ask which asset or business service is involved, where the relevant trust boundary sits, which identity performs the action, and what reliable evidence would show that the control worked. Security reasoning is a chain. Source evidence supports an observation. The observation supports a conclusion. The conclusion informs a proportionate decision. The decision has an owner, an expected result, and a way to verify it. When any link is missing, say so. A professional explanation can include uncertainty without becoming vague. For example, a network record may prove that 2 addresses communicated, but it may not prove which human initiated the action or whether the content was malicious. Now turn the mental model into a repeatable workflow. First, inventory every JWT issuer, verifier, signing key, JWKS endpoint, audience, token type, lifetime, claim mapping, and authorization dependency. Second, define validation rules per service, accepted issuer, allowed audience, allowed algorithms, required claims, clock skew, key source, and error behavior. Third, shorten access token lifetime and ensure refresh token storage, rotation, and revocation match the risk. Fourth, plan signing key rotation with key ID, overlapping validity, cache refresh, rollback, and alerting for unknown keys. Fifth, separate authentication claims from authorization decisions so stale roles or broad scopes do not travel forever inside long-lived tokens. Sixth, test invalid signatures, wrong issuer, wrong audience, expired token, future token, changed algorithm, missing key ID, stale key, and overbroad scopes. Before acting, define the objective, scope, owner, and success condition. Collect the smallest amount of trustworthy evidence needed to understand the situation. Preserve timestamps and sources so another person can follow your reasoning. Priorities should be explainable. Consider exposure, identity and privilege, sensitive data, business importance, exploit conditions, existing safeguards, reversibility, and confidence. A dramatic label should never replace that analysis. The workflow does not end when a command succeeds, a ticket closes, or a dashboard turns green. Verify the new state with fresh evidence. Check for recurrence and for side effects introduced by the change. This disciplined loop, observe, interpret, decide, act, verify, and learn appears in every cybersecurity specialty. Understanding failure modes will protect you from attractive but unreliable shortcuts. First, accepting tokens without issuer or audience validation lets tokens created for one app work against another. Second, algorithm confusion and sign tokens or unexpected algorithms can bypass signature assumptions in poorly configured libraries. Third, long-lived access tokens increase the value of theft from logs, browser storage, mobile devices, or compromised clients. Fourth, putting sensitive data in JWT claims can leak information because JWT payloads are often only encoded, not encrypted. Fifth, authorization embedded in a token can become stale when user roles, account status, or tenant membership changes. Sixth, poor key rotation can either break production or leave compromised signing keys trusted too long. These mistakes often share one cause: confusing an available signal with a complete explanation. A tool can report a finding, a successful action, or a score while important scope, context, ownership, and verification remain missing. Also resist copying commands without understanding their inputs, outputs, permissions, and side effects. Run one controlled change at a time and record what happened. If an exercise does not behave as expected, that is useful evidence. Stop, inspect the environment, revise the hypothesis, and explain the difference. Good security work is not a performance of certainty, it is careful reasoning under imperfect information. Reliable security uses layers because no single control can prevent every failure. First, validate issuer, audience, expiration, not before, signature, key ID, algorithm, token type, and required claims on every trusted boundary. Second, use short-lived access tokens and protect refresh tokens with rotation, secure storage, replay detection, and revocation. Third, keep sensitive data out of ordinary JWT payloads unless encryption and need-to-know rules are explicitly designed. Fourth, use centralized libraries, gateways, or middleware so validation rules do not drift across services. Fifth, rotate signing keys safely with JWTs caching strategy, monitoring, planned overlap, and emergency compromise procedure. Sixth, log token ID, issuer, audience, subject, verifier, validation failures, and authorization decisions without logging raw secrets. For each important risk, ask 5 questions. What makes the event less likely? What evidence would reveal it? Who can contain it? How will trustworthy operation be restored? Who owns the decision and accepts remaining risk? Least privilege applies to people, applications, devices, automation, data stores, and administrators. Access should be scoped, separated, monitored, reviewed, and removed when it is no longer needed. Every important control needs a test strategy. Include representative normal activity, negative cases, misuse, dependency failure, and rollback. A written policy is not evidence that a technical or operational control works. Finally, preserve the evidence trail from observation through decision, action, and verification. That history supports investigations, audits, lessons learned, and honest measurement. Turn this episode into a practical hardening plan. Start with inventory. Write down every place this authentication pattern appears, who owns it, what data it can reach, where credentials are stored, how it is revoked, and which logs prove normal or suspicious use. Then reduce the biggest exposure first. Remove stale access, shorten lifetimes where possible, narrow scope, protect storage, add recovery or revocation paths, and make sure high-risk workflows require stronger proof. Next, test abuse cases. Do not only test the happy path. Test stolen credentials, expired credentials, replay, reset, or recovery abuse, wrong audience, wrong issuer, missing logs, disabled controls, and emergency revocation. Finally, measure progress with services missing audience validation, access token lifetime by app, unknown key validation failures, refresh token replay detections, raw token logging findings. Each metric needs an owner, a reliable source, a review cadence, and a known limitation. Strong authentication security is a repeatable operating rhythm. Choose the right pattern, reduce credential theft, validate every token or session, protect recovery, centralize evidence, secure machine identity, and rehearse response. For chapter markers and primary links, open the description. For more evidence-based cybersecurity research, visit CipherVibe.com and subscribe to CipherVibe. Copyright 2026 CipherVibe. All rights reserved. This briefing is general education. Validate controls with authorized administrators in your own environment.